Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
The notification sound from my phone cut through the garage like a rusty blade. I wiped my greasy hands on my coveralls and glanced at the screen, expecting another spam message or maybe Linda asking what I wanted for dinner. Instead, I saw something that made my stomach drop like a stone through water. My name was Aaron Mitchell, and I'd been fixing transmissions for 15 years in this cramped garage behind our house. The work was honest, the pay decent, and it kept my hands busy while my mind wandered. Tonight, though, my wandering mind came to a screeching halt. The group chat notification showed Linda's name, followed by a preview that made me nearly drop my phone into the oil pan. There, in living color on my cracked screen, was a photo I'd sent to Linda 3 months ago, during one of our rare, intimate moments. A photo that was never, ever supposed to leave our private messages. Well, isn't this just perfect? I muttered, scrolling through the comments that had already started piling up. Linda's friends were having a field day. Monica, her self-appointed best friend and social media queen, had already posted 3 laughing emojis. Jessica from her office added a comment about poor Aaron. Even worse, Derek, some guy I'd never heard of, had responded with a fire emoji and, "Your husband's got confidence, I'll give him that." My hands started shaking as I read Linda's response. "Oops, wrong chat. But hey, my friends think you're brave, honey." Brave. Right. More like humiliated beyond repair. I set the phone down and tried to focus on the transmission in front of me. But the gears and springs might as well have been ancient hieroglyphics. All I could think about was that photo making its way around Linda's social circle, probably getting screenshotted and shared beyond her little group. The garage door creaked as Linda walked in, her heels clicking against the concrete floor. She looked immaculate, as always. Fresh from her marketing job downtown, not a hair out of place. "Aaron, sweetie, I am so sorry about that," she said, but her tone carried about as much sincerity as a politician's campaign promise. "You know how these group chats work. One wrong tap and..." "One wrong tap?" I stood up, wiping my hands again. "Linda, that was a private moment between us. How does something like that just accidentally get posted?" She shrugged, checking her manicured nails. "These things happen. Besides, it's not like anyone saw anything too scandalous. You should be flattered. Monica said you looked good for 42. Flattered. I repeated the word like it tasted rotten. "My private photo is being discussed by your friends, and I should be flattered." "Don't be so dramatic, Aaron. It's just us girls. We share everything." Linda pulled out her phone and started typing. "I'll delete it now, okay? Problem solved." But problems like this don't just get solved with a delete button. Screenshots exist. People talk. In a town this size, gossip spreads faster than a grease fire. "Who's Derek?" I asked. Linda's fingers paused over her screen. "Derek? Oh, he's just a friend from the gym. Personal trainer. Really motivational." Something about the way she said motivational made my jaw clench. "Since when do you go to a gym?" "Since I decided to take better care of myself." "You should try it sometime." She gestured at my oil-stained coveralls. "Maybe shower first, though." That stung more than I expected. Linda and I had been married for 18 years, together since college. We had our daughter Judy, our little house, our routines. When had we started talking to each other like strangers? "I'm going to call a lawyer," I said. Linda laughed. Actually laughed. "A lawyer? For what?" "It was an accident, Aaron. Don't make this into some federal case." "That photo was shared without my consent. There are laws about that now." Her laughter died. You wouldn't." "Try me." She stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to figure out if I was bluffing. I wasn't. 20 years ago, maybe I would have just swallowed this humiliation and moved on. But something had shifted in me over the past few months. Maybe it was watching Linda transform from the woman I married into someone I barely recognized. Maybe it was the way she'd started looking at me like I was furniture that needed replacing. "Fine," she said finally. "Call your lawyer. Waste our money on something stupid. But don't expect me to feel guilty about an honest mistake." She turned and walked out, leaving me alone with the smell of motor oil and the sound of my own racing heartbeat. I picked up my phone and scrolled through the group chat again. The comments had multiplied. Someone had shared it to another group. This was spreading. I found the number for Patterson and Associates, a law firm that specialized in digital privacy cases. Their website had popped up when I'd Googled revenge photo laws 6 months ago, back when Linda had first started acting strange. Patterson and Associates. This is Rebecca. Hi, I need to speak with someone about a privacy violation. Someone shared a private photo of me without consent. I can schedule you for a consultation tomorrow morning. Would 9 o'clock work? Perfect. As I hung up, I heard Linda's car start in the driveway. Through the garage window, I watched her back out and drive away, probably heading to that gym she'd mentioned. Or maybe to see Derek, the motivational personal trainer, who thought my private photo deserved a fire emoji. I went back to the transmission, but my mind was already working on a different kind of repair job. Some things, once broken, couldn't be fixed, but they could be replaced. And sometimes, replacement was just another word for revenge. The next morning, I sat in Robert Patterson's office, feeling like I was wearing the wrong costume for a play I didn't audition for. His law office was all polished wood and leather-bound books, the kind of place where people discussed important matters in hushed tones. Mr. Mitchell, what you're describing is a clear violation of digital privacy laws, Patterson said, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed my case. Your wife shared an intimate image without your consent. That's a misdemeanor in this state, punishable by fines and potentially jail time. I don't want Linda to go to jail, I said quickly. I just want this to stop. Understood. But the law gives you leverage. We can send cease and desist letters to everyone in that group chat, demand they delete all copies of the image, and threaten legal action if it spreads further. Patterson leaned back in his chair. The interesting thing about cases like this is that once we start pulling the thread, other things often unravel. Digital forensics can reveal a lot about someone's online activities. I thought about Linda's late nights on her phone, her new gym membership, her sudden interest in clothes that cost more than my monthly tool budget. What kind of things? Communication patterns, hidden social media accounts, dating app usage. Patterson's expression remained professionally neutral. Sometimes what looks like an accident turns out to be more deliberate. That afternoon, I decided to do some investigating of my own. Linda was at work and Judy was at school, so I had the house to myself. I'd never been the type to snoop through my wife's things, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Linda's laptop was password protected, but I knew her well enough to guess. Judy, 2005, our daughter's name and birth year. She'd always been predictable with passwords. Her email revealed nothing unusual. Work correspondence, shopping receipts, mom blog subscriptions. But her browser history told a different story. Multiple visits to Derek's gym website. His Instagram profile, viewed dozens of times. And then I found something that made my chest tighten. A dating profile on some app called Spark. Linda's profile photo showed her an address I'd never seen, taken at some upscale restaurant I'd never been to. Her relationship status was listed as, "It's complicated." The messages in her Spark account went back 3 months. Derek wasn't just her personal trainer. He was her workout buddy, her motivation, and according to their increasingly flirtatious exchanges, her escape from the ordinary. I screenshotted everything. That evening, Linda came home later than usual, claiming she'd had dinner with Monica after her workout. She looked radiant in a way that made my stomach turn. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, kissing my cheek like we were actors in a commercial for breakfast cereal. "Productive," I said. "Met with a lawyer this morning." Her smile flickered. "About that silly photo thing? Aaron, you're being ridiculous." "Maybe, but he seemed to think I had a strong case. Said we could subpoena everyone in your group chat, make them testify about how the image was shared." "Testify?" Linda's voice climbed an octave. "You'd drag our friends into court over this?" Our friends. When did Monica become my friend? When did Derek? Linda's face flushed. Derek's a professional. He's helping me get in shape. I saw your Spark profile, Linda. The words hung in the air between us like smoke from a house fire. Linda's mouth opened and closed a few times before she found her voice. You went through my computer? You shared my private photo with your boyfriend. I think we're past worrying about privacy boundaries. He's not my boyfriend. We're just friends. Friends who message each other at midnight? Friends who meet for dinner at restaurants you've never taken your husband to? Linda sank into the kitchen chair, her perfect composure finally cracking. Aaron, it's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. When she looked up, her eyes were different, colder, more calculating. Fine. You want the truth? Derek makes me feel alive again. He sees me as more than just a wife and mother. When I'm with him, I remember who I used to be, before I got trapped in this life. Trapped. I repeated the word, tasting its bitterness. 18 years of marriage, and you feel trapped. Don't you? When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you looked at me like I was something special instead of just part of the furniture? She had a point, and that made it worse somehow. We had fallen into routines, taken each other for granted. But I'd never thought the solution was to find someone new. So you decided to humiliate me instead of talking to me? The photo was an accident. Stop lying. My voice came out harder than I intended. I saw your messages. You and Derek have been laughing about me for months. The photo was just the latest joke. Linda stood up, her moment of vulnerability gone. Maybe if you'd paid attention to your wife, instead of hiding in that garage every night, things would be different. And maybe if you'd acted like a wife, instead of a teenager with a crush, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The front door slammed and Judy walked in, backpack slung over her shoulder, earbuds dangling around her neck. She looked between us and rolled her eyes. Let me guess? You're fighting about Dad's naked photo again? My face burned. How do you know about that? Mom's friend Monica posted about it on Facebook. Some of my friends saw it. Thanks for making my senior year even more awkward, Dad. She stomped upstairs, leaving Linda and me staring at each other across a kitchen that suddenly felt like a battlefield. Monica posted about it on Facebook? I asked. Linda looked genuinely surprised. She wasn't supposed to do that. I told her to keep it in the group, but she didn't. And now my daughter's classmates know about it, and probably their parents, and anyone else who follows Monica's drama-filled social media presence. I pulled out my phone and called Patterson's office, leaving a voicemail. This is Aaron Mitchell. I want to move forward with the case. Send those cease and desist letters to everyone, and I want to explore all legal options. Linda watched me make the call, her expression shifting from defiant to worried. Aaron, please. Let's talk about this like adults. Adults don't share their spouses' private photos for entertainment. Adults don't create dating profiles while they're still married. Adults don't humiliate their family for the sake of impressing some gym trainer. I headed toward the garage, then turned back. Oh, and Linda? That lawyer mentioned something interesting about digital forensics. Apparently, they can recover deleted messages, prove intent, show patterns of behavior. So if there's anything else you want to tell me about your friendship with Derek, now might be a good time. Her face went pale, which told me everything I needed to know. As I walked back to my garage, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, a sense of purpose. For too long, I'd been reactive, letting life happen to me instead of taking control. But now I had a mission. Some people collect stamps, others restore classic cars. Me? I was about to become an expert in the art of consequences. Patterson's cease and desist letters hit Linda's social circle like a tornado through a trailer park. Within 24 hours, my phone was buzzing with panicked messages from people I barely knew. Monica called first, her voice shrill with indignation. Aaron, this is absolutely insane. You're going to sue us over a harmless mistake? Harmless? I was replacing the brake pads on Mrs. Henderson's Honda, but I stopped to give Monica my full attention. My daughter's friends are talking about it at school. My neighbors are whispering. How is that harmless? It was just girl talk that got out of hand. You're making this into something it's not. Then you won't mind testifying under oath about how it happened." The line went quiet for a moment. "You're really going through with this?" "Unless everyone involved deletes every copy of that photo and signs a legal agreement promising it won't happen again, yes." "What about Linda? She's your wife. This will hurt her too." I almost laughed. "Monica, Linda created this mess. She can deal with the consequences." After I hung up, I felt better than I had in months. There's something satisfying about watching people scramble when they realize their actions have real-world implications. That evening, Derek showed up at my house.
She texted you come back to bed at 3 a.m. Last Tuesday, you told me you were at your sister's.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
I was washing my hands at the kitchen sink when I saw him through the window. Tall, muscled, wearing gym clothes that probably cost more than I made in a week. He had the kind of artificially perfect appearance that screamed social media influencer. Linda wasn't home yet, which made his visit even more interesting. I opened the front door before he could knock. "You must be Derek." "Mr. Mitchell." He flashed a smile full of unnaturally white teeth. "I think we need to talk." "About what?" "About this legal situation. It's getting out of hand." I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. Derek was bigger than me, but I'd been working with my hands for decades. There's a difference between gym muscles and real strength. "You think so?" "Look, the photo thing was an accident. Linda feels terrible about it. But this lawyer stuff, sending threatening letters to everyone, that's not solving anything. It's solving my problem. See, Derek, when someone violates your privacy, you have two choices. Let them get away with it, or make sure they understand why that was a mistake." Derek's smile faded. "Linda told me you were being unreasonable about this." "Linda told you?" I stepped closer. "Exactly how much does my wife tell you about our marriage?" "We're friends. She needed someone to talk to." "Friends," I nodded slowly. "Is that what you call it, when you take someone's wife to expensive restaurants and exchange midnight messages about escaping ordinary life?" Derek's confident facade cracked slightly. "She told you about that?" "She didn't have to. I found your little love nest of messages all by myself. Turns out my wife isn't as clever as she thinks she is. Listen, man, I never meant for things to get complicated, but they did get complicated. And now you're standing on my porch, trying to convince me to drop a lawsuit that could expose exactly how complicated they've gotten." Derek's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" "I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to delete every photo, every message, every trace of whatever this relationship is. And I want you to pray that when my lawyer starts digging into digital records, he doesn't find anything that makes me angrier than I already am." "And if I don't?" I smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. "Then you'll find out what happens when someone pushes a man who has nothing left to lose." Derek stared at me for a moment, probably trying to decide if I was bluffing. I wasn't. Something fundamental had shifted in me over the past few days. The old Aaron would have avoided confrontation, tried to work things out quietly. But the old Aaron had also trusted his wife and believed that treating people with respect meant they'd return the favor. "This isn't over," Derek said finally. "You're right about that." He walked back to his flashy sports car, some imported thing that probably cost more than my house. As he drove away, I noticed Mrs. Landon from next door peeking through her curtains. By tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know that Linda's friend had visited while she wasn't home. Small towns are like that. Gossip spreads faster than spilled oil. Linda came home an hour later, her face flushed with anger. "Derek told me you threatened him." I had a conversation with him. If he felt threatened, maybe that says something about his guilty conscience. "Aaron, you're acting crazy. This jealousy thing is not attractive." "Jealousy?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Linda, I'm not jealous. I'm angry. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Jealous men worry about losing what they have. Angry men focus on making sure there are consequences for betrayal." Linda's phone buzzed and she glanced at it nervously. "Monica says you're demanding signed agreements from everyone in the group chat." "That's right. This is humiliating for me too, you know. My friends think I'm married to a psychopath." Your friends shared my private photo for entertainment. I don't really care what they think of me. What about what I think of you? I looked at my wife, really looked at her. She was still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with in college. But somewhere along the way, she'd become a stranger wearing Linda's face. What do you think of me, Linda? She hesitated, which was answer enough. I think you've changed, she said finally. The Aaron I married wouldn't act like this. The Aaron you married wouldn't have needed to. The Aaron you married trusted his wife. He believed in working through problems together. He thought marriage meant being on the same team. We can still be on the same team. No, we can't. You chose Derek's team when you started sharing our private moments with him. You chose Monica's team when you let her turn our marriage into social media entertainment. You chose everyone's team except mine. Linda's eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. Somewhere in the past few days, my capacity for being hurt by her had simply shut down. So what happens now, she asked. Now, you live with the consequences of your choices, just like I'm living with the consequences of mine. My phone rang, Patterson's office. Mr. Mitchell, we've received responses to our cease and desist letters. Most of the recipients are willing to comply, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? The image has been shared beyond the original group. We're tracking at least 12 additional social media accounts that have posted it. This is going to require a much more aggressive legal approach. I looked at Linda, who had gone pale, listening to my side of the conversation. Do whatever you need to do, I told Patterson. Send bills for all costs to my wife. She created this mess. She can pay to clean it up. After I hung up, Linda sank into a chair. 12 accounts? She whispered. Congratulations. Your little accident has gone viral in our social circle. Judy's going to love explaining this to her college admissions counselor. Aaron, please, I'll do anything to fix this. Anything. She nodded eagerly. Then go pack a bag and stay somewhere else for a while. I need space to think, and you need time to figure out whether you want to be married to me or dating Derek. You're kicking me out of our house? I'm giving you what you wanted. Freedom from this trapped feeling you mentioned. Consider it a trial separation. And if I refuse, then you can explain to Patterson why you're not cooperating with the legal case you created. I'm sure he'll find that interesting when he's calculating damages. Linda stared at me like I'd grown a second head. I don't understand what's happened to you. I grew a spine, Linda. Apparently that's confusing for people who are used to walking all over me. She went upstairs to pack, and I sat alone in our kitchen, listening to drawers slamming and hangers clattering. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm. Some people are afraid of burning bridges, but sometimes you need to burn the bridge to stop the enemy from crossing it again. 3 days after Linda moved in with Monica, my phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Patterson, and he sounded excited in the way lawyers get when they smell a big settlement. Aaron, you need to see what our digital forensics team found. Can you come in this morning? An hour later, I sat in Patterson's conference room, staring at printed screenshots that told the story of my marriage's destruction in painful detail. Your wife and Derek have been planning this for months, Patterson explained, spreading the documents across the table. The photo leak wasn't an accident. Look at this message thread from 2 weeks before it happened. Derek's message read, "We need something to make him look pathetic. Something that'll make him want to leave on his own." Linda's response, I have an idea. Something that'll embarrass him so much he won't want to fight the divorce. My hands clenched involuntarily. They planned this. It gets worse. They've been documenting everything, your work schedule, your finances, even conversations with Judy about college expenses. They were building a case to make you look like an absent, financially irresponsible father. Patterson flipped to another page. Derek's been researching divorce law, specifically how to maximize Linda's settlement. He even contacted 3 different divorce attorneys on her behalf. Why would Derek care about Linda's divorce settlement? Because he's broke. His gym is failing. He owes money to several creditors, and he's been evicted from 2 apartments in the past year. Your wife isn't just his escape from ordinary life. She's his escape from bankruptcy. The pieces clicked into place. Derek's expensive car was leased. His flashy lifestyle was financed by credit cards and loans. He needed Linda's divorce settlement to save his own financial skin. So, what are my options? Patterson smiled like a shark. We have them on conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and potentially fraud. Linda's been moving money from your joint accounts into a private account Derek helped her set up. She's been stealing from me? Small amounts over several months, probably hoping you wouldn't notice until after the divorce proceedings started. I thought about all those late nights Linda had spent balancing the checkbook, all those small discrepancies I'd attributed to her shopping habits. How much? $12,000 so far. That was my daughter's college fund. Money I'd saved by working overtime, skipping vacations, driving an old truck instead of buying something newer. I want to press charges. Criminal charges will take time, but we can freeze their assets immediately and demand full restitution. Plus, this evidence makes your civil case much stronger. Do it. That afternoon, I drove to Derek's gym. The parking lot was nearly empty. Never a good sign for a business that depended on membership fees. Inside, Derek was training a client who looked like she could bench press a small car. I waited until they finished their session before approaching. We need to talk, I said. Derek glanced around nervously. I'm busy. Not too busy to plan my divorce with my wife. Not too busy to help her steal my daughter's college money. His client, apparently sensing drama, grabbed her water bottle and headed for the exit. I don't know what you're talking about, Derek said. I pulled out my phone and showed him one of the screenshots. Digital forensics is amazing these days. They can recover deleted messages, track financial transfers, even prove when photos were intentionally shared instead of accidentally leaked. Derek's face went through several color changes. Look, man, it wasn't my idea. But you went along with it. You helped plan it. You researched divorce lawyers and helped Linda hide money from our joint accounts. She said you guys were already getting divorced. She said you knew about us. And you believed that? Derek looked around his empty gym, probably calculating how much this lawsuit was going to cost him. What do you want? I want every penny you helped Linda steal from me. I want a signed confession about your role in this conspiracy, and I want you to disappear from our lives completely. And if I don't, then you'll find out what it feels like to lose everything you've worked for. Your gym, your reputation, your freedom. Because what you and Linda did isn't just grounds for a civil lawsuit, it's criminal fraud. Derek was quiet for a long moment, watching a potential client peer through the front window before deciding to keep walking. How do I know you won't sue me anyway? You don't. But cooperation might convince me to settle for restitution instead of pushing for jail time. I need to think about it. You have 24 hours. After that, my lawyer files criminal charges and civil suits against both of you. I left Derek standing in his failing gym, probably wondering how his brilliant plan had gone so wrong. The truth was, most people aren't nearly as clever as they think they are. They just assume everyone else is stupider than they are. That evening, Linda called. Aaron, we need to talk. Derek told me about your conversation today. I'm sure he did. This has gone too far. Can we meet somewhere and work this out like civilized people? Civilized people don't steal their spouse's money to fund an affair. Civilized people don't conspire to humiliate their partner for strategic advantage in a divorce. I can explain. I'm sure you can. Save it for your deposition. My what? Patterson's scheduling depositions for everyone involved. You, Derek, Monica, everyone who participated in sharing that photo. You'll get to explain your actions under oath. The line was quiet for a moment. Aaron, please, think about Judy. This is going to destroy our family. Our family was destroyed the moment you decided Derek was more important than your marriage vows. I'm just making sure there are consequences for that choice. What if I end things with Derek? What if I move back home and we try counseling? It's too late for that, Linda. You can't unring a bell. So you're just giving up? 18 years of marriage, and you're throwing it all away over a mistake? I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen. After I hung up, I sat in my garage, surrounded by the familiar smells of motor oil and metal shavings. This space, had always been my sanctuary, the place where I could think clearly. Tonight, I was thinking about consequences and choices. Linda had made her choices based on what she wanted in the moment. Derek had made his choices based on financial desperation. Monica had made her choices based on social media drama. None of them had considered the possibility that their actions might have serious, lasting consequences. They'd all assumed I would just absorb the humiliation and move on, the way I'd always absorbed smaller slights and disappointments. But sometimes, when you push someone far enough, they stop bending and start pushing back. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "I'll take your deal. When do you want to meet?" I smiled and typed back, "Tomorrow morning. Bring a checkbook." Some lessons are expensive, but the people who need to learn them most are usually the ones who can least afford the tuition. The meeting took place in Patterson's conference room on a gray Thursday morning that felt like